Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our watch club for Loki Season 2. We got to the man at the end of time, and he made sense. Welcome to Watch Club. My name is Nate, and this is our Watch Club recap for Loki Season 2, Episodes 1 to 4. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Watch Club, our weekly review series, kind of like a book club, but way better. Keep in mind, we will be going into full spoilers for this series and the MCU in general, so if you haven't watched this week's episode or the first 4 episodes, be sure to do so, and then come right back in a snap. Now, before we remember all the things we forgot but are now just remembering because they're technically happening but in the past, let me introduce you to the TVA personnel. Joining me today, first up, he knows a little something about joint probability. He's Justin the Jet Ski Lovin' Lawrence.
I am not a jet ski loving rider.
No? Have you been on a jet ski?
I have. I was actually on when I was much younger. I'm pretty sure I was on one with Kevin, and he ripped. He ripped on that. I thought I was.
I would love to see Kevin on a jet ski. That would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
But before we get to see Kevin on a jet ski, joining us from a branched timeline, he's the sexiest mass of molecules this side of the magnetosphere. He's Mike, the meticulously marvelous super spectroscopic Smith.
I like the alliteration in there. That was really good.
I just literally, every time I just Google science words that start with M or start with S, and I just get
I like that.
a list
I like
of
that
them.
you went back and forth. That was good.
Of course,
I
absolutely.
appreciate that.
Mike,
and,
welcome
and I
back.
do love jet skis, by the way.
Oh, have you been on a
There you
jet
go.
ski?
Yes, and they terrify me because they are crazy fast now.
They are
But-
so fast. I couldn't believe
so fast.
how fast we ripped through.
You're
I
kind of
was
like, oh my
scared.
god, are we touching water? Like, I don't think I'm touching water right now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Last time I was on a jet ski, it was with my buddy Jesse, and he was like, dude, I promise you 3 people can be on this jet ski. It's going to be fine. No problem. I'm in full clothes. My Apple Watch had never gone underwater because I know they can, but I never wanted to test it. And that was the day my Apple Watch went underwater because 3 people got on that jet ski, 2 after me, and it just sinks into the water.
There
And I
you
was just
go.
like, well, I guess I'm going for
Giving
a
it
swim.
a test.
That was it.
I can't wait for Mobius to one day be
Oh,
on a jet ski.
it's going to
Because
happen.
It better
That
be a
feeling
prolific
with your my
moment.
brain.
Yeah.
Like he'll be so happy. He'll be insanely happy.
Dude, I'm seeing slow motion. I'm seeing
Yeah.
like close-ups. I'm even hearing like an 80s rock tune. You know what I mean?
Incredible
Just
You're
kind
seeing
of
sunglasses.
Loki
place.
on the back too, right?
Ex-
Like you're seeing
100%.
like just the 2 of them, just like
Yeah, it's
that
it's the
big Tom
equivalent to a
Hiddleston
tandem bike, right? So you know,
Oh,
like
please.
they-
Oh, they
they-
did
they-
ride a tandem. Okay, we'll get into it.
exactly,
Yes.
yeah.
Mike, welcome back to the podcast. For those who haven't heard your lovely dulcet tones before, who are you, and what are your high level thoughts on this season of Loki so far?
I'm Mike Smith. I usually sometimes record a podcast called Dumpster Talk, but I have been paying
Usually,
attention
sometimes.
to this.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's whenever we feel like it.
there you go.
This season, I don't think it's as good as season 1 in my overall. This is like, but the potential is there, I guess, if that's the way that I can put it. So like up to where we're at. I listened to your guys spoiler free, and I wanted to be in on that so bad because I was like, oh, okay, I agree with this thought and I disagree with this thought, and like I could go into all of them, but I won't do that. I'll spare everybody the time. But the biggest thing that I think I'm the most disappointed about, if I could pick one thing, I like the character of Victor Timely, but I don't love his portrayal. And
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm with Kevin on that. I think it was Kevin that said that, and
Yeah.
it really.
was
I
goofy.
really felt that. I was like, oh, the way that I feel about it is in season 1, we had Loki, we have a bunch of variants, and I believed they're all variants.
Mm-hmm.
And in this is the same actor, and I don't believe it's a variant. Like
Oh,
that,
okay.
that's like kind of bad. Like I feel like he's overacted his way away from Kang in some of these roles, especially like the after scenes that we've seen him in other stuff. And I'm just like, oh, this is too far. It's too far removed. Like there's no mannerisms. Like between Sylvie and Loki, there's so many mannerisms that are the same. You believe they're the same person, and these are like far removed.
So
And that's probably my biggest gripe. Other than that,
So basically, his portrayal as a Kang variant is so different from everything else we've seen that it just doesn't feel like the same.
it takes me out.
Yeah, takes you out.
Yeah,
Okay,
it takes
that's
me
fair.
away from it. You know, at this last episode, we'll get there. I'm coming around, but like the first,
it might
three
not
took me a
matter
lot.
anymore, Mike.
It might not.
We'll get
Exactly.
there.
We'll get to that.
We'll get there.
Cool, man. But otherwise, you're enjoying the
I
season so
am.
far, yeah.
Yeah. I'm a massive Doctor Who fan as well. So the vibes there, like I don't think you could get anything closer to Doctor Who than this series of television right now
in the
without
MCU
being
for
Doctor
sure.
Who.
Yeah,
Without being Doctor Who. Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm
Well,
enjoying it.
Justin and I, we've been waiting for what feels like forever. We're finally on a timeline where we get to keep talking about it. It feels like forever, Justin, especially after that 4th episode. But we're going to be talking about all 4 episodes. But just before we do want to remind you listening that we here at Geekcentric are stoked that the WGA has successfully gotten the contract that they bargained for. And we hope that SAG-AFTRA will reach an agreement with the studios as soon as possible. It sounds like they are in talks at the time of this recording. So we're crossing our fingers that everything kind of works out there. And, we stand with the SAG-AFTRA in support as they strike to get the contract that they deserve that better reflects the ongoing changes of today's industry. Because without them, like, we would not get incredible performances, and we wouldn't really get these fleshed out characters that we love, like the ones in this very show. So to support the actors of the things we love, you can do so by checking out the link in our description. We got a lot to go through, gentlemen. So let's get into it, starting with the first episode of season 2, the premiere, titled Ouraboros, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. Let me kind of give you a little brief synopsis, and then we'll just chat about it. In the continuation of season 1, Loki finds himself in an unfamiliar version of the TVA where no one recognizes him. He escapes multiple attempts to apprehend him and discovers time anomalies affecting the TVA. Mobius and Hunter B-15 try to restore order amidst chaos in the sacred timeline. General Doc, still unwilling to accept the truth, commands X5 to hunt down Sylvie. Loki experiences time slipping, shifting between past, present, and future, and with the help of Mobius and Ouraboros, Loki successfully resyncs himself, and he comes crashing down, pushing Mobius back through the blast doors just in time. Hunter B-15 watches as Docs, X5, and a massive squad of agents march through the time doors, ready to start their hunt. And then in the after-credits scene, yes, we do get an after-credits scene, the only one we got in this season so far. Sylvie enters a branched timeline and explores 1982 Broxton, Oklahoma. She walks into a McDonald's, that I love seeing McDonald's in the show, and when asked what she'd like, she expresses her desire to try everything. So, guys, let's talk about this premiere. Let's talk about some of the highlights there. I think the one that I wanted to start off with, and probably the most obvious one, and the one that makes me smile the most, is the introduction of OB, played by the incredible Ke Huy Quan, who is just so incredibly delightful. I can't stop smiling every time he's on screen. Justin, what did you think?
Yeah, I think as we'll go through the 4 episodes, he's the MVP. He's definitely the highlight. Anytime he's on screen, it's an absolute delight. It can be anything from bleak and direct to hilariously heartfelt, and
we're all gonna die.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
all gonna die.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, again, this introduction to his character in this episode was handled so well. It gave a sense of poignancy to who OB is and why he's important. And I love that. We with him and Mobius and Loki, we get this sort of new realization of time traveling
and how it works.
The past affecting the future, which was so well done. And with OB at the center of that, with Key acting this out, with being like, wait a minute, I do remember something, right? Or actually, I do have that. Like felt like it was a bit of a comedic sort of skit, but it worked really well in the middle of this. Like there's so much heaviness that's been happening. Like you got Loki time slipping everywhere, and like I don't know, Obi just seems to anchor that episode and make it so grounded amidst all this crazy loom breaking things and time slipping and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, he's the highlight of that episode.
I agree. Like, I mean, he's easily the best new character that they added.
100%.
Like they've added a few new people or opened up more people to give them a little bit bigger roles, but I honestly feel like Obi is overshadowed every other character to the point that like you mentioned names and I have to rack my brain to think who is that? Like who is Docs? I
Yeah, yeah.
forget. Like who is this? Like I don't remember them. They're like almost forgettable because Obi is such a great character, and I really do. I really do love that they immediately gave him relevance. I don't know if it was in the first episode or not, but they gave him relevance by being like he wrote the the Bible on the
Yeah.
TVA, basically,
Yeah.
right? So like that's his writings on what he found, and we'll get to later a bit more about that. But the fact that they immediately gave him like he runs this place, like this is
It's his show.
he's important. He is an important
Exactly.
man,
The last these 4 episodes have really solidified that Obi is extremely important to, I think, the bigger picture that existed before, during, and probably after. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I love that he's not just a sort of a character cast and a throwaway cast that they added. There's value that I think I'm hoping we'll get payoff. I will reserve my idea of thinking that it actually will, and I'll say I hope, because like you said, even just the last tidbit of knowing that he wrote the TVA manual and giving him that weight, like that's important, right? That's super important to the bigger picture.
All these things start to show up in like Marvel Comics, like TVA is a part of Marvel Comics, all these characters, and like Obi will be one. Like there's no doubt in my mind whether he might be already, I don't know.
I think
but,
there's like a version maybe, but it's definitely not this version. And I think you're right. I think that's one of the best aspects about sort of the way that the MCU gets its influence from the comics, and then it goes kind of like a snake eating its own tail. It goes back around and starts to and sort of hit the comic side of things too, where the designs of the characters are then influenced by these different characters. I think my favorite performance moment from Obi, it's so subtle and it's so little, but Ki Hee Kwan does it so perfectly in these wonderful Wes Anderson style shots. You just see him like further away from them, and he's trying to explain how he does everything, and he just turns around and goes, "No sleep." And it's such a short little moment, but he just says, "No sleep." And oh, my heart.
I don't think he can sleep though. That's like I think that's a
Maybe
theory,
not.
but like I think there's something about the way he ticks that's reminiscent of a clock that just doesn't stop, right? So
and he doesn't say it with a joke.
No,
like
it's seriously.
He
That's
delivers
what I
it
mean.
seriously.
It's bleak and direct, or it's like heartfeltly like honest and
but
sincere.
both are hilarious.
Yes.
Time slipping is probably visually one of the most terrifying things this show has introduced. Like it does look painful. I don't know what Mobius talked about.
I also think though the comedy piece behind that was absolutely fantastic, where it was like, yeah, it's not that bad. Then he does it again. Okay, I was lying. It's horrible. It looks like you're dying, being reborn. It is absolute. Like I was laughing so hard, and just in that moment, because it really does break again the whole seriousness of what's going on. So it's very much subverting your expectations. This is why I think this episode was one of my favorites of the 4, because of how well it kind of goes with the seriousness of what happened at the end of season 1. But then there's these moments where it's just breaking, and it very much like time slipping. You're moving between different styles of like comedic genre. Like then the elevator bit was really funny, and then they turn and there's someone standing there, and then she's just like, yeah, I'm with him. Like that, just like her face was like, yeah, that's not pretty that you time slip. I thought that was a really good like comedic bit, and I know a lot of people might have thought tonally it was out of place, but I thought it was actually just what the episode needed. The same with the stuff with OB. Like it just kind of breaks that loom and doom. Oh, that's crazy.
Well, yeah, that
the loom and doom. Yeah. So,
on time slipping, like I enjoyed the performance of it. I think Hiddleston nailed it. He really sold it. It looks painful, and like it was kind of comedic, and it was really well done. As far as like a literary device, I was like, oh god, I hope this doesn't happen all season. And I'm happy that they wrapped it up, and I was like, okay, it was cool, it was neat. I didn't want it to be like, oh, every time something's about to happen, they can just use this to either get someone in or get someone
Right.
out of what needs to happen. And I was just like, it's kind of weak. It's a little lazy but it worked. They paid it off and they were like, cool,
I
it's
think
done. We fixed it.
I think
Let's
it's going
move
to come
on.
back though in the last
Yeah.
2 episodes.
If
so-
you look at the trailers,
Yeah.
there's some footage that we've not seen yet that includes more of him doing that amazing hair flip back when he does his.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did want to shout out the McDonald's of it all. I think, by the way, the tree in the background of that McDonald's, like, I know
The
that, like,
face?
growing up in the 90s, things, or in the 80s and the 90s, like, things looked like that. But that tree, the face on
It
that
looked
tree,
scarier than the original though. Like the
terrifying.
original, like the original that they based it off of
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily as scary as what they made it, right?
So in that branch
Yeah.
timeline, maybe that's what's
maybe
going
it's
on.
a little more horrifying, right? Hence
Somebody
the
got
branch.
extra high when they
Yeah,
designed it.
exactly. Yeah.
That's how they remembered it.
Yes, that's how they remembered it. Darcy, unfortunately, was not able to join us. He's off in a branch timeline exploring pumpkins. But he did want me to mention the choice of Broxton, Oklahoma, specifically, and its importance to the comics, because apparently that is where Thor chose to rebuild Asgard after his rebirth post Ragnarok in the comics. So Darcy was saying, like, it would be interesting, maybe not this season, maybe in a season 3, or maybe just sort of as an eventual character thing for Loki to see him waking up Asgardians on this timeline, or at some point waking up Asgardians on this timeline as a way to sort of continue and maybe even, I was thinking maybe even meeting with a variant of his brother, I think would be really, really fun, right? Like, we've kind of got 2 variants of these characters that we know from our sacred timeline meeting together, I think would be really, really interesting. I don't know. I know that there was like a deleted scene from something that was like a Thor frog at one point that they were supposed to meet. I don't know if that was in one of the movies or if it was in the show, but I remember seeing
think it was one of the
somewhere.
movies.
Was it in one of the movies? A deleted scene where
Yeah.
Frog Thor was supposed
Yeah,
to
I
meet.
I remember seeing that
Loki.
online too. I didn't understand the context of when it was or what it was meant to be for, but they have hinted at Frog Thor
Making a comeback.
making a comeback. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, in some, I think that was from a movie. Actually, I think you're right. But yeah, I think the whole idea of placing Sylvie in a reference point that could be potentially a new Asgard homestead, like, that's interesting. What if it's like she runs into like her variant, like a variant of Thor that's maybe, the opposite of where she would have been in a timeline? Because if she is a Loki variant, well, who
Right,
is
there would have
the
had to have been a
Thor
Thor
variant?
in that timeline as
Timeline.
well.
So if
Interesting.
if
Okay.
if she almost found a way to realign back with her home timeline that she didn't realize that she by coincidence did.
Didn't she? I could be remembering things wrong, but didn't she kill her Thor variant?
Did she?
I could be
Maybe.
wrong. Maybe I got to go back and watch. First
Maybe.
season again.
I don't know.
feel
I
like,
can't recall if that was the case or if it even existed. I know she was pulled from her I guess Asgardian lifestyle pretty early, but also did she prune? Was that
Mhm.
timeline pruned?
Pruned.
If it
Oh,
was,
yeah.
then
True.
that Thor was probably non-existent. But
Gone.
either way, the fact that
True.
she could land at a place where we could see a variant of Thor, right? It doesn't need to be Chris Hemsworth. It could
Yeah.
be someone else, right? And
That's true.
that's what's interesting. It could be her young friend who works with her at McDonald's, perhaps.
Oh, we're gonna talk about Jack. Don't you
Whoa.
trust?
I don't.
We're
I don't
getting
think,
there.
No, I don't.
I don't think he's Mobius, but I do have a theory for it. We'll get to it.
Okay,
We'll get to it.
okay.
Before we move on to episode 2, do we have anything that we wanted to mention about episode 1, or are we ready to jump forward in our timeline here?
Now let's move on.
We're going to jump ahead. So episode 2, titled, and I love the title for this episode, Breaking Brad, is fantastic. Directed by Dan DeLeo. In this episode, Loki, Mobius, and B-15 travel to different time periods in search of Sylvie. When they emerge in 1977 London, Loki doubts Sylvie would be there as it's too safe. Instead, they find X5 living as movie star Brad Wolfe, and they capture and return Brad to the TVA. They have Obi inspect Brad's modded tempad, and Brad tells Loki he's better at being a bad guy and insists that the TVA isn't real. This provokes Mobius, surprisingly, into violence. After a calming piece of key lime pie, Loki, which that key lime pie looks so good. I don't care how jiggly it is. I want to eat it.
Oh, buddy. Oh,
Dude,
buddy.
you're not a key lime pie guy, Justin?
No, we'll talk when we get there, but
Okay.
I got a
I
theory
love
about
key
that
lime.
pie.
Yeah, let's go. Key lime pie. Sorry, after a calming piece of key lime pie, Loki confronts Brad again. This time, he lets his inner villain out, and Obi informs B-15 and Casey that they have to convince Miss Minutes to come back and help override the locked blast doors, as they no longer have access to the temporal aura of He Who Remains. Brad takes Mobius and Loki, after some convincing, to Broxton, Oklahoma, where we see Sylvie working at McDonald's. Brad informs them that Doc's plans to bomb multiple timelines. And then while working together, Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie stop Doc's, but not before countless timelines are pruned. Casey gets a hit on Renslayer's tempad, pointing them in their next direction. Sylvie, now disillusioned with the TVA even more, says it's broken, it's rotten, and she decides to return to her life back in Broxton, leaving the TVA agents to confront the aftermath and destruction of the mass pruning. So there's some moments in this episode I want to bring up. But just before I do, a quick plug. Justin actually had the chance to interview the director of this episode, Dan DeLu, which you can check out right now on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/geekcentric. But in that interview, Dan, he asked Dan if he could travel to another timeline. Where would you want to travel? And I think in our spoiler-free review, we actually talked about the same thing. But Mike, I actually wanted to ask you, where would you travel if you could pick anywhere on the timeline to travel? And what would you do there?
I had a feeling you were going to ask me this, actually. Because once you asked me to do this, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go listen to their spoiler free. And I was like, oh, he's going to ask me. And I think I'm with you. I think I am too much of a tech nerd, like interested in the future. And unlike some people, and even maybe the state of the world right now, I feel like we're going to figure things out as
I like that.
humanity. I think that things are going to be
You're
good.
hopeful.
I'm hopeful. That is probably the best way. I am hopeful, and I feel like it's gonna be good. Like we're gonna go through a lot of bad things. It's gonna happen, and there's always going to be wars and whatever else. But I have a feeling that things will be better in the future. I maybe not for a long time, but I don't know. I'd love to see where we're at and how long people are living and what technology looks like, and that just astounds me. To one day be in a flying car or have a jetpack
Or flying jet
just
ski. Would you maybe? That's what you
flying
would do.
jet ski. Yes, yeah. Personal aircraft of some sort. I just that type of thing is just like I couldn't go back and smell shit streets and do all that. I don't want to do that. Like medieval times, and like as much as I love dinosaurs, I don't want to do that.
No, I mean, I think in the future we'll have the ability to do that anyways. You know what I mean? So you get the best of all the worlds,
maybe.
right?
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. You go to the future and then you're like, oh yeah, you're stuck there, but the future has like time machines on
VR
the side.
experiences.
Like those scooters you can rent. It's just like a time
There you
machine.
go.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I love it.
People take them on
I
weekends.
love it. Cool. Well, let's talk about this episode. We're in the 70s. I love the disco. Like, I think Natalie Holt, if I could just give a shout out beyond our spoiler free review, is just doing such a phenomenal job, and I love her little variants, if you will, of the main theme. And at the
exactly
movie
what it is,
premiere, we get the 70s version of the Loki theme, and it's just fantastic. And there's a few other ones that I'll highlight as we go along, but she's killing it. I love it.
Music's been awesome.
Well, I love that it's definitely serving as the anchor that kind of binds all of the I guess what would you call them? The branch timelines.
Yeah.
That binds them together is this score that feels familiar but is dated, and it's a variation from that period. So I think it's perfect to think about it in that way. I like the one in episode 3 and how they incorporated it. But yeah, the 70s vibe definitely hits, and I loved even just like the punk rockers in the streets that end up circling Brad at the end there. It was just how like British punk they were. Like they were ready to fuck shit up. So I was like, all right, let's go. I thought it was awesome.
I think on the topic of Brad specifically, I think Raphael Cassel is actually really doing a phenomenal job. I mean, I know he's not necessarily as explored, and he kind of does to me as I was like, because I rewatched the 4 episodes coming into this, and I did sort of recognize that he does sort of feel like he's coming out of nowhere kind of character. Like, where was this guy
Yeah.
all of the first season? Why didn't we have him? But for what we are getting, I think specifically the sequence where he's sort of egging on Loki, I think is really, really fantastic. And I just think that entire interaction, like even just, going to Tom Hiddleston, like getting the ability to sort of see the Avengers 1 style performance from Tom Hiddleston as the villain of Loki, I think was fantastic. And I think the entire sort of even like the interrogation moment and dude, putting him in that box was just, I mean, there's another box moment that we're going to get to that's absolutely horrible, but this one in particular, for the first time seeing it, it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
The that character, like, I did have that sort of, who is this guy? Was I supposed to remember him from season 1? Because I don't. And he and he's got a tough job because you've got Tom Hiddleston, who slays at everything he does. Never mind the character of Loki, and then you've got Mobius, who's in. Like, both of them have had a full season to flesh out their characters, and then you've got this guy standing in their room to try to like be even close to on par with them. And I don't think he nails it in this episode, like episode 2. I think he had a lot of work cut out for him, and I was kind of just like, oh, you got, like, I didn't fully love the character. I like the idea of the character and that they had to get him and everything else, but I felt like he was one of the people that like maybe suffered from like
he's underdeveloped,
not underdeveloped, and just came out of nowhere, and now has to stand against these 2 giants on stage. And I was like, ooh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Episode 3, I think he makes up for it, and he really finds his character. But like this one, I was kind of like, this guy's nowhere near as good. Like I almost thought he was not. I thought it was bad acting, and I was like, no, it's not bad acting. It's just like, it's just not as good.
Sure, it's a tough, it's a tough room to compete with.
Tough room to stand out in.
I think to your point though, like you're saying, it could have been far more interesting for Brad's character to be someone that did come from season 1, for us to have that connection with them already. Like, they didn't need to be super important in season 1, but to already have been introduced, like Hunter B-15, like she's being reintroduced to her, seeing a whole new level to her in season 2. She mattered in season 1. She's mattering more here in this second season. I think that could have been.
And who's the desk clerk guy? Same thing with him. Like, he wasn't really in first season, but now he's got
Casey. Yeah. But he matters.
He's able to
step in,
and he matters.
Exactly. So to have that sort of same sort of respect with Brad, because I agree. I think to give such an importance of what he's doing in this episode, abandoning his post, trying to exploit the situation and try to find his best timeline because he doesn't believe in the TVA anymore. He's kind of acting out. Like, that might have been better to see from a character that we already did see from season 1. But I'll give it to you. Like, like Raphael is definitely trying to match toe to toe with those talents that are on the screen. And it does show in some instances. I think in some cases, yes, it does feel like acting. When he's interrogating them and he's leaning into them, it's like he's really leaning into trying to be mean. Right. And then you see this sort of flip when he ends up at McDonald's, right? And his character suddenly like
needs to get out of there.
He just flip flop a bit.
Exactly.
He's scared when they meet him on his timeline. And then he's like, now he's a badass when he's captured, and that doesn't really make sense. And then they go to a McDonald's where he's almost basically free, and he's terrified.
And,
like, okay,
and actually, that's kind of where I liked him the most of his portrayals. Right, was in that sort of like, come on, guys, we got to get out of here. Like, I don't know why do we have? Can we get it to go? Like, I thought that was all really really interesting. But again, it's one of those things that I agree with you. I think that it could have made a little more sense given how much of a turn it has. Like, I didn't know this guy Brad enough to care that he went from being a respected TVA hunter to like suddenly I don't give a heap of shit. You know what I mean? If it was like someone like a B-15, then maybe it might make more sense. So yeah.
I have a question just around the timing of everything. Were either of you alive in the 80s and go to a McDonald's in the 80s? Were either of you? Yeah.
I was born in 1980, dude.
Okay, sweet.
I was born in 85. So
beautiful. So question then, did they have
I saw that tree.
Did they have the little pie holders, like the cardboard pie holders?
Yeah.
That's been a thing that's been around that long?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
100%, dude.
amazing.
Yeah.
They're McDonald's. Shout out to McDonald's. They're phenomenal. But I did want to also,
He's trying to get a sponsorship.
yeah, McDonald's. Listen, if you're listening, I'm loving it. But I did want to ask about Docs and her relationship with Brad. Are they banging? Are they mother and son? Are they both? Like, what's
This
going
is
on
an
there?
alternate timeline of her character from Game of Thrones. I'm telling you.
Yeah, dude. That's where.
Oh,
That's where it is.
maybe.
That's why that's in your brain, dude. I was thinking about the same thing. She is super weird and creepy in that.
Oh,
And she
wow.
has a weird relationship with her son.
Yeah.
And
does.
who's younger. And I don't know. There's not a mother. There's definitely not that paternal aspect, but there is some sort of like
Some weirdness
something,
going on,
right?
Yeah.
I feel like
Mhm.
we don't get to
like
explore it that much, but
no, we don't.
Yeah.
And that's kind of actually one of the I think the downbeats to this is like, especially given the fact that everyone was certain that Kate Dickey was actually going to be a variant of Sylvie.
Yeah.
Very much like how we
Mhm.
had I can't remember the actor from last season who played the older Loki. But kind of similar in that vein. But here she's a general. So I thought that was kind of interesting that so many people had her pegged for, which would have been great. I think that's a great casting.
So she would have just been another Loki variant.
Exactly, an older Sylvie.
An older
Right.
Sylvie variant
Yeah,
almost.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Interesting.
But Sylvie is a Loki.
Yeah, exactly. So she'd be another.
Still a Loki.
She'd be another. Yeah,
Sylvie
she'd be-
Loki, older Loki
Yeah.
Sylvie.
Yeah. So I thought that was an interesting sort of thing. But I remember when we watched this so long ago, and I was like, ooh, people were certain that was the case, right? So it's like,
And that's maybe why she wanted like Sylvie so badly. It was to like connect with her in some way. Yeah, maybe.
But yeah,
Obviously, that's not the case. I did want to bring up the character of Jack. Okay, Jack is this is if we're going to be starting to drop some theories as we go along here. I want to drop this one first. Okay, so Jack is the manager at McDonald's that Sylvie works at, and at the end of this episode, we see Sylvie. She's laying on the truck, and she asks Jack specifically if his mom is on her way to pick him up. So I'm going to put it out there that because a lot of people are saying that Jack is Mobius. I do not think that is the case. However, I do think that Jack is Mobius's son because I think here's the deal, right? Love can transcend time and space and memory wipes. And I think that Jack was pretty excited to work alongside his dad selling the latest in watercraft personal vehicles known as jet skis, which I looked up because I'm not as familiar with the 80s as you two. And apparently jet skis boomed in the 80s specifically. And so imagine, they were about to go into business and then all of a sudden Mobius disappears from their lives and now Jack has to work super hard at a McDonald's. Because if I'm not mistaken, like at one point when we see him in the first episode, I'm pretty sure he's just an employee. And then by the end of the second episode, he's a manager. He's working his ass off to support his mama. I'm telling you right now, Jack is Mobius's son. And we're gonna get a sequence in the future episode or at some point of seeing him meet his son and maybe go on a jet ski together with him. I think that's what
I love your theories.
Come
but
on.
I also love that your theories are fleshed out. That's
course.
the best part.
he goes to
It's not
effort.
just a
He
theory.
goes to the
It's
I
effort.
have to look into
I've
it.
written it.
Yeah. I was kind of hinting at it before. I think Jack, if they were going to do something with, is it Braxton? What is
Broxton?
it?
Yeah, Broxton, Oklahoma.
Broxton, Oklahoma. That and associate a Thor. And
Could he be
do
Thor?
a variant? Could he be the one that picks up the hammer that can wield it?
That would be pretty cool.
sort-
In a McDonald's outfit?
Well, that would be.
They would love
Nick
that.
Thor?
That'd be hot. Yeah, there you go. And he's a
Mick
ginger. Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome.
Mick Thor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I like the idea that we could start telling those stories, right, about Thor, because he has been a god and so on. But then we do get to that point of Thor's story where the hammer is very much the transfer of power, and anyone who picks it up can or he who is worthy
of picking
would
up.
would
Yeah.
wield the power of Thor, and then that's how you get your Thor character, right? So you
Interesting.
could do one of those things where it's kind of like a Shazam, right? Like imagine that's the future of Thor, right? Is a Shazam style character that picks up the hammer and goes into a variation of it, right? So
Interesting.
it'd be interesting. So I like that. I was thinking about that, but this whole thing about him being Mobius, I don't know if there's enough there that's that's really can support it. I would even go more on the basis of what you've described, is that he might have some sort of relationship
Absolutely.
I could see that.
with Mobius, and that could be the gateway, because there's something important about this kid. They've focused on him, unless
Maybe.
well, I don't know.
Maybe not.
Like I don't know. They maybe not, but like the reality of how maybe they've given a little bit more of an attention, and if he does come back up, it's a timeline that she respects, or that she kind of calls home, that Sylvie calls home, and
Mhm.
who knows, maybe he's someone that gets sacrificed that means something. So the groundwork has been laid, and something happens in her timeline.
Yeah, they're building his story to
exactly.
be something. I don't think it'll
to
just
at least
be
matter.
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully, but
Yeah.
yeah, maybe who
Um,
knows?
This is the episode 2 is where they introduce the having the pie, the key lime pie in the pie room.
Yeah.
There's a lot of theories behind what that pie does, and I don't know if
Whoa.
you have you heard of this?
I haven't heard any
Yeah.
magical pie theories.
I've heard some theories about the calming nature of it, and how it
Yeah.
Oh, it's like laced with something?
yeah. Well,
Oh, I
I've
didn't even
also
think
heard
about that.
and it kind of, this is all from sort of I wondered what happened
They're
with,
deep rumors. Like
Yeah,
they're
they're
not,
deep, like-
there's not based on any sort of like
I'll
actual
save it. I'll
anything, I
save
think.
going into detail with it when we get to episode 4.
4. Yeah.
Because I think it's going to matter a little bit more, but
Really?
New Rockstars did a little bit of a breakdown that has me thinking that could be very plausible, and kind of a really scary aspect to the TVA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Agreed.
The key
From what
lime
I think I
pie.
heard the same things. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm excited to hear about the key lime pie.
Before we move on, one of my favorite key lines, not key limes.
Okay, yes.
One of my favorite key lines is
Yeah.
in episode 2, and I believe it's when Mobius turns to him, is like, we can hack into the computer or whatever, right? And he just turns and goes, we can? And he's like, no, I'm asking. It was just like, that was one of my favorite. I think it's in the recap as well now, because it's just so good. I love that.
Well,
I love that line.
it's also just so ironic, because like, would he know what hacking is? And like,
Yeah, like Mobius
right?
definitely doesn't have a clue.
He's just
He
saying,
goes,
he's
"We
just
can?"
spewing nonsense, right?
Yeah.
So funny.
Oh, so good. So freaking good.
I will say, wrapping this episode, it did feel like a mad dash to close it out,
Mhm.
with the action scene at the end. I guess it gave a little more, sort of it serves as a reintroduction. Obviously, this episode serves as a reintroduction to Sylvie, but it's also giving a sense of like who Dox is, and her importance, and this sort of rebel quality that's coming out of the TVA. Like the TVA, as she says at the end, is broken.
Mhm.
Right, and it's falling apart, and it does really come down to people deciding with their own fate, like what needs to happen. How does the TVA move forward? Does it respect these timelines and try to find a way to coexist, or does it react and do what the TVA is meant to do, and prune them and kill billions, trillions of timelines? It really sets up the dilemma of what's going on with the TVA at this point, and how it needs to move forward, or how will it move forward. But yeah, the action scene at the end, handled well, feels a little rushed, felt a little
It was
rushed
quick.
and shoehorned in.
But it felt like a mirror of the moment that we got with Sylvie, I think, as well, right? With her also trying to bomb the different branch timelines. So it was interesting to sort of see her on the opposite side of that.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think these first 4 episodes, there's a lot of stuff that's mirroring that first season. So to go from an episode where Loki is in a way reintroduced to the TVA, or a different version of the TVA, and then move into this episode where we get to sort of see these time, so many different time doors opening up and all these different charges going off. It just felt very much like that might have been what they were going for, but to your point, it was a little bit crammed in there for sure.
I really wish, and this is you touched on this in your spoiler free, but this is the point where I wish they started the Loom and we're running out of time. Like, I wish this is where things started to ramp up. Somebody mentioned, I don't remember who it was on your spoiler free, but it starts off with, oh my God, we have no time, and we got to fix this, and that's the reason that they go looking for Renslayer, or they go to find Brad, or all these different things. I just wish they found different reasons to do that, and then this started to happen now, like at the end of season or episode 2. It just would have. The pacing seems weird. They had time to stop for pie, but we have no time. It was like
Very important pie, though, dude.
I think they're doing it on purpose, and they even joke about it. I don't want to step too far ahead, but there's a couple lines in episode 4 where I'm like, oh, they know they're doing this.
Yeah.
Right, because is it actually going to do the thing that they all think it's going to do, right? Or is it going to do something else, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is that time does move so differently for them. So they probably
They said that all of season 1.
Well,
Time
so
moves-
yeah,
time works
exactly.
differently here, right?
But even just how the OB really kind of overlooks the situation in episode 1. He says, I can contain it, but we need to figure out a solution. And then they're like, well, our solution is we need to find these people, right? We need to get Miss Minutes. We need to do all this. And that does drag out the intensity or the severity of the situation, but it's only getting worse and worse, like to the point of when we do come to episode 4 and, you'll see it. It's blown right to shit, right? It's like it's gone, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not. It looks entirely
Loom
different.
is insane. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's completely insane. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's true.
So, but I agree with you. I think that kind of serves as a bit of as a pain point, I think, as well, to a certain degree, in terms of how the episodes feel paced. Because if we can stop to have pie, like you said, but there's this.
It just was.
It
felt clunky.
Yeah.
The
No, it
comedy
makes
didn't
sense.
feel right because of the situation they were in, and I had a hard time.
It's like in a video
laughing at
game,
their
though, Mike,
conversations,
right?
'cause I'm like, but there's this thing happening.
But
I know it's more video
right
game,
where
like,
you're
for sure.
like, oh, there's this side mission. The end of the world is going to happen, but also you got to do this side mission where you got to ride a bike for a minute.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's true. It's true.
It's sort of, it works.
It's very Doctor Who like as well. Like again, it's
Yeah.
just like I was like, guys, this is Doctor Who. Like, just accept it.
Let's talk about the episode where they ride a bike. Episode 3, titled 1893, directed by Kasra Farahani. In this episode, Renslayer travels to 1868 Chicago on the sacred timeline to meet someone important and deliver a package instructed by He Who Remains and Miss Minutes. Meanwhile, at the TVA, they struggle to access the Loom, leading them to search for Renslayer and Miss Minutes. Loki and Mobius track Renslayer to a World's Fair event in 1893, where they encounter a con man named Victor Timely, who seems to possess a version of his own temporal loom. Sylvie has somehow tracked them down and begins to attack Timely, who's defended by Loki. Chaos ensues involving a fight. There's a giant Miss Minutes that's like a giant ghost. And Timely's escape happens alongside Renslayer. Renslayer reveals her connection to Timely and how he created the TVA. Both Renslayer and Miss Minutes manipulate Timely to maintain their influence over him. But Miss Minutes convinces Victor to betray Ravonna after she says that she wants to be more of a partner. He's like, I don't do partners. And then at his lab in Wisconsin, Miss Minutes expresses her desire to be allowed a real body. And she also tries to express her love for Victor before he shuts her down. Then Loki and Mobius show up, and Sylvie shows up and uses her magic to surprise attack them. She lets Loki and Mobius and Timely escape to the TVA, leaving her alone with Renslayer. Then, after confronting her, she sends her to the Citadel, where He Who Remains' corpse remains, and to the and then at the end of the episode, Miss Minutes hints at a secret that she says will make Ravonna real angry. So we gotta get into this episode. I think this was a standout episode, very much though kind of a side mission episode like we've just been talking about. We got to talk about the tandem bike. But I think the first thing that I want to just shout out again, Natalie Holt, the iteration of Giacchino's Marvel fanfare. I don't know if it was Giacchino that came in and did this, or it was probably Natalie that did this one, but the Marvel fanfare in the 1800s instrumentation style was fantastic. There's also a polka version of the Loki theme that we get in this episode. I just wanted to shout that out. I love it whenever they can take the Marvel fanfare and sort of change it up and do something really fun with it.
Yeah, she was on stage in episode 3. She's on the trumpet.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Someone
wow.
pointed that out.
That's cool.
So, yeah, so she cameos in
Nice.
the episode. So that's a fun little find. But yeah, again, another great way to imagine the iconic themes through the lens of the time
The
that we're
music's
in.
been awesome.
Yeah,
It really has. Like
it's
it
hit the
really
mark.
does suit
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I really did enjoy this episode. I think this was one of my favorite episodes just because of how revealing it is for certain elements. You know, Ravonna, Ms. Minutes. You know, a lot of motivation is established in this episode. Even to a certain degree, understanding more of Victor Timely. You know, it's interesting that he's given the book by Ravonna and Ms. Minutes, and it's on the sacred timeline, and then you know when Loki finds them in 1890, or Loki and Mobius find them in 1893, it's a branch timeline.
It's a branched
And
one. Yeah.
it's a branch. So is that the difference that Ravonna
The
wasn't
book
originally?
is the branch. I think when
Is
he's
the book
handed
the
the
branch?
book,
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm thinking. I
Mhm.
think she steps in, gives him the book, and that branches away from what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if it's the act of her doing it, or because it was always destined for him to get that book. Do you know what I mean? On the
Mm,
sacred timeline. So I'm
I don't know.
wondering, because like I think that Victor Timely in this, especially in the way that Ms. Minutes gets, you know, kind of hot and bothered by him in a really confrontational way at the end of the episode, which is quite awkward. I think Victor Timely is a variant, or is He Who Remains. Is in a lot of ways. I think he is the one that we see at the end of the episode, or at the end of season 1.
I think him being given the book made him not He Who Remains.
Oh.
I think it gave it. I think that kid,
Mhm.
Victor Timely, as a child, it wouldn't have become the con man kind of crap version
Mm-hmm.
of Victor Timely, because he's given this book that gives him all these things, and he doesn't really have to learn and fight for himself. He kind of is given this little bit of like a leg up,
Yeah, he's cheated.
and then
yeah.
be, and then just is like, oh, I just cheated my way into this, and now he's a con man, and he just sort of like floats through life. And I think that that's the problem, is that the real He Who Remains was the person at the end of the main timeline. What's it called?
The sacred timeline. Yeah.
The sacred timeline. And that guy was able to go through time and had to do it for himself. He
Mm.
wasn't handed this book. And I think that I feel like that makes a difference. I don't know.
Maybe I'm spitballing theories, and I think that anything is really a go. But I find it interesting the level of focus that this has on Victor, almost parallel and maybe even some ways juxtaposed. Because to your point, He Who Remains is a man with power who has lived through things based
Mhm.
on circumstance of life. Victor Timely hasn't had all that privileges, so he is helping. You know, He Who Remains is helping by giving this book to a variant of himself, and maybe there's more that are like that are out there on the sacred timeline that he is giving a leg up to kind of help push potentially his own variation, so he can inevitably close the inevitable loop of this multiversal war.
Well, because I remember, like, you have to go back to the season 1 finale, and you know, he mentions a 31st century you know, variant who was a scientist who discovered the multiverse, right? Who discovered that there were multiple universes. So I kind of I'm on board with what you're kind of talking about, Justin, in the sense of like the idea that maybe there are just a bunch of these like little kids scattered around the sacred timeline that can just be sort of activated and used for this loop, right? This because, you know, I already brought up the concept of like the Ouraboros, the snake eating its own tail, the idea that this is looping over and over and over again. So you know, I'm just wondering, it is a good thing to question of like, are there a bunch of other, you know, quote unquote Victor Timeleys or different, you know, little kids out there that are He Who Remains or Kang or what have you, that can just sort of be used for this purpose. And maybe that one in particular was just the one that we saw in this season. I don't know.
Maybe that's not the only book that got taken back. Maybe there's a bunch of them that have gotten taken back over the course of time to create more variants.
Right.
Because the minute you introduce that book, if that is the point in time that the variants created, well, he could have done that over a course of time over and over and over again to create all his different Kangs.
Right. Yeah, I
Right.
don't know.
I do think the character is important as when we get to episode 4, but there's such an attention to him in this episode 3, and again the whole time period, taking us to 1893. I thought that was so great. Keeping it focused in that world, and you know really living in it for the episode. I thought that was absolutely such a tailored moment, right? Such a moment that an episode that's so focused on great production design, and to have Kasman Ferrani actually direct this episode, who is the production designer, like it's great to see that marriage of so the creative vision of seeing it designed and then executed in a way to tell the story. It's great. It's perfect.
I also want to shout out, we've been talking about Thor earlier. Balder the Brave gets mentioned in this episode, which means Balder exists, at least in this branch timeline of the MCU. And apparently, I was doing some research, Daniel Craig was supposed to debut as Balder the Brave in Multiverse of Madness as a member of the Illuminati, and that was that sort of empty chair that we saw.
Really?
I think that would be phenomenal, and if they still want to bring Daniel Craig in as Balder, like, let's go. That would be amazing.
And Daniel Craig's not that tall, I don't think, is he?
No,
don't they
yeah.
make it, or Thor's
Not that
Maybe
tall,
that's
is
what
it?
he said.
Yeah, that's what he say.
Yeah. Thor's not that tall. Still a jealous boy, right? Because if you think about it, he hasn't lived through the events of anything after Avengers 1, right? So he's pretty much,
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't gone through all the other events of Loki's
right.
journey, right? So
Right.
he's still kind of juvenile, right?
Mm-hmm. Hasn't learned his lesson fully.
He hasn't learned his lesson. No, exactly. But yeah, I would love to see Balder the Brave like show up. I thought I heard he was going to be in Thor, Love and Thunder. But then it was Multiverse of Madness that they said they were thinking of introducing him, and I think there's still a chance that he could come in for Thor 5, like if they actually decide to do that. So
Be interesting.
Yeah, it would be great. It's a good casting. It's a good casting.
I really loved the vibe of this though. That time period. This is where it's solidified. I had just watched that episode and I heard Darcy say as a Whovian, like, "Oh, it's very Doctor Who," and I was like, "Yeah, you can't get more than that by taking one episode and putting it in a different time frame."
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was so cliche. Doctor Who, like, to go back and live there for an entire episode and then have it open up into something completely different once it gets to the end. Like, so great. And what they did with Miss Minutes, like,
Oh, yeah.
just to change her up and put her more in the time frame, and her character just unraveled in so many great ways.
Oh man.
And that line when she is at the end of that one, when she's like, "You will never be him."
That's coming up. That's coming up.
That's next one.
Sorry.
That's okay.
No, at the end
sorry.
of this,
Sorry.
at the end of this episode, when she bleeds her face onto the mannequins,
Whoa.
and it like twitches and
Glitching?
things, I was like,
dude.
yo, that's why in the spoiler free I said there's some horror vibes, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's some
Yep.
scary
Yeah.
freaky things that happen, and it's like it's sort of perfect with Halloween right around the corner. They sort of lean into this sort
genre
of
dipping.
creepy autonomous techno vibe of Miss Minutes and what her
Yeah.
control is. It's her unraveling is probably even is just as interesting too, because it really sets her up for being the big villain of this season, I think.
Well, and I think that's, we've got so many stories coming up with the rise of AI in our sacred timeline. So, I think that's definitely very fitting. I think, like, just it's such a phenomenal voice performance, and yeah, I'm digging what they're doing with Miss Minutes. I think the entrance for Sylvie here was pretty fantastic, with Ravonna sort of saying, "I'm order," and then I almost anticipated her to be like, "I'm chaos" or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just it was such a wonderful moment. I think Sylvie this season has sort of gotten a bit of the shaft of sort of focus. I think she's kind of been a little bit more in the background. I think the only thing, though, that I will say that I really enjoyed in this episode is her struggling to kill Victor, because if she does that, if she did kill Victor, she'd become the thing she hates most in that moment.
The thing
right?
that was
She
almost done with her.
Right.
Yeah.
She was taken because of something her variants would do. And so I love that, like, that's kind of what keeps her back from killing him. And I think at that moment for me, I was like, okay, that brings her up a little bit more this season for sure.
I think her moments through these 4 episodes have definitely been softer and gentler, if you will, in the sense that they're not as obvious. They come in small amounts,
Mm-hmm.
and when they do come, they're very heartfelt, right?
Mm-hmm.
They hit you, right? So even her conflict with Loki in the little carousel that they're in, and how they're going back and forth with what's right and what's wrong, you see this great emotional moment for her character, and then you go fast forward where she has to suddenly see the decision, like she's becoming the thing she hates, right, like you said, and she's becoming the problem when she's going around saying, well, I'm just going to eliminate every variant of this person because of one. Yeah, it's
Yeah, you can see she takes that back, right? She said it, and then she's like, "Oh, I can't actually do it."
Mm-hmm.
exactly, because she understands what she's becoming, and
Mhm.
even though her moments haven't been so like obvious and dead center for these like first 3 episodes, they've still mattered, right? We've seen her try to seek happiness, we've seen her almost have that happiness taken away, and now we see her trying to correct the situation, to be like, well, he gave me this job, I took this job, I got this temp pad, I'm gonna hunt down all these variants and just be the one that takes them all out. Like, she's gonna own that responsibility, but she's not a killer.
I think she's one of my favorite characters across the whole series.
Absolutely.
Like and I don't know the actress's name, but she is
Sophie DiMartino?
stellar. She's stellar.
Sophie,
She's
yeah.
so good at that role, and I don't know how much conversation happens between her and Hiddleston, but like they have mannerisms that are like very similar, and I'm sure it's purposeful, and it's just like I'm just so in awe at the fact that she's playing such a great role and so well.
Yeah, she's doing a good job for what we get of her. This again, I think we got a lot of her. Obviously, she was kind of the big focus of the previous season, but this season,
Fair.
you know, she
was the focus, but there's so much more that's going on this season.
Yeah.
But again, just coming back to it, like if you, after rewatching it, when she's on screen, her moments matter to her and to her character's development. It's not like she's just there, right? You have to really look at it. I think the first time I watched it, it was like, well, she's so underwhelming. Like I'm hoping in the next 2 episodes she's going to matter more. And I'm more certain she is going to matter in the next 2 episodes, because it's really going to come down to the 2 Lokis, I think, to fix whatever's next. But
I feel like she plays us too as the viewer. Like she's always the one who's pointing out the things that are ridiculous.
Yeah, it's true.
Like she's pointing out like, what, you're gonna go have pie, like, or she's like, no, I can't do that, or she takes that role of like, oh my god, don't kill him, like it's not him kind of thing. Like she's very very aligned with, I feel like, what the audience would be thinking.
Yeah, and I also did want to just bring up before we continue B15. I think is the focus on her and the idea of her sort of seeing all the branches disappearing, and just I think for her, and I think Wonmi Mosaku is doing a phenomenal job with her face and the way she's performing in that moment, in the sense of like, those are people, those are real people that are being eliminated. It's just, not only is she confronting the fact that this is happening right now, but she's confronting the fact that used to be her. That was her thing. And that was her whole purpose. And so to see her sort of transition throughout has been fantastic. And just shout out to Wonmi for killing that as well.
Yeah, that was in episode 2, right?
I think it was in episode 2. You're right. Yeah. But I did want to just must have forgotten
no worries.
to
I just
want to
I thought I was mixing things up. So
no, you're right.
I've been mixing them all up. That's across, but I feel like those like there's been some really great moments like that of like realization. And what's funny is that Mobius never really has that, and I think purposefully he's very oblivious. Like he's more excited about like a 2-seater bike or some show, or finding, he's like, oh, look they've got this,
eating
like,
the Cracker Jack popcorn.
He's on vacation every time he goes to another, like,
that's the way he does things, though, right?
But
that's
I think, but like that's why I think that pie conversation in episode 2 was really important, because it opens up the idea that he is just content with his life as it is right now. we could say it's the pie that's making him feel that way. But I think that what's
yeah.
interesting is that he's giving validation as to like, but that's not me. Like whoever else is on the timeline, that's not me. I don't know that life. I only know this
Yeah.
life. Right. Like
Yeah, yeah.
even in that moment to have that sense of clarity of understanding, like, why do I want someone else's life? All I've ever known is this. Right.
And I'm good at it.
And
I
I'm
like
good at it. And I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
accomplished and I get to do things. And
It's
he
that
feels
factory worker that's just
he's just
I'm
yeah.
just I come
He's
in,
just
I put my
content.
bolt in,
He's
and then
gonna
leave.
he's gonna punch in every day, do the
Yeah.
9 to 5, retire, and maybe get
Enjoy
like
a
some
piece of
sort of
pie.
imaginary.
Do you know who else is
jet
like
ski at
that?
some
You know who
point.
else is like that? His son Jack. Okay, let's get on to episode
God.
4, the one that we've all been kind of waiting
it.
for. An hour into the podcast.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but we had to talk about those other 3 phenomenal episodes. Episode 4, titled "Heart of the TVA," directed by Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson. This is going to be a little bit longer, but I think it's worth it for this episode. So, in the Citadel, Miss Minutes reveals to Renslayer that he who remains once valued her leadership. However, after showing her past memories, Renslayer discovers that she was deceived, leading to her realization of the truth, that she and everyone at the TVA had their minds wiped. Meanwhile, at the TVA, Timely, Loki, Sylvie, Mobius, and others collaborate on a plan to fix the chaotic timelines. While working on the device, Timely's past connections and innovative ideas become crucial in their efforts. Amidst the chaos, Loki and Sylvie's complex relationship deepens as they grapple with their roles and the ethical implications of their actions. As the situation escalates, B-15 tries to convince Docs and her loyalists of the TVA's new direction, emphasizing that the need to protect their organization and to stop pruning is super important. However, Miss Minutes and Renslayer manipulate the situation, leading to deadly consequences for those who resist their influence. Obi and Timely's device faces technical challenges, and the team races against time to fix it. Meanwhile, Sylvie and Loki confront their own doubts and fears, contemplating the responsibility they bear in the face of the looming crisis. In a final desperate attempt, Timely ventures out to confront the Loom, but the radiation proves fatal, leading to a catastrophic explosion and a spaghettification, if you will. Despite their best efforts, the team fails to prevent the disaster, leaving them in a state of uncertainty. The explosion engulfs everything in a blinding light, leaving the fate of the TVA and our beloved characters hanging in the balance. So,
Ooh, balance time. I get
yeah,
it. That's
okay,
a good
there we
one.
go.
Sick.
Obviously,
Nice.
we want to get straight to talking about the big explosion at the end and what's going to happen next. But I think we'll hold off for our predictions if it's even possible. We can discuss that maybe a little bit later. I wanted to start off with talking about specifically, and I've been waiting a while since we first talked about the box torture, how vicious and violent that box scene was. Like, that might be the most violent, albeit off-screen sort of death that I think we've ever seen in the MCU. And just
I think from an idea standpoint, for sure.
Yeah?
Like, it is death
by
materialized as
crushing,
yeah,
and Miss Minutes
pushing
is
people
like
together.
laughing and like smiling as it's happening. Like, dude,
That was the worst part. That to me was more scary than what anything they could show in.
And the fact they didn't show it, I think, is what makes it the most scary.
Mm.
Because like your imagination creates the worst possible thing, right? Like
Yeah,
the
puddle.
imagery of what happened in my head is worse than anything they would have
Yeah.
shown.
So this ties into what I was talking about earlier. So, Mike, as we were talking, the pie has been rumored to maybe be something that is an agent that calms people down, that relaxes people, that makes them drink the Kool-Aid, if you will, and become a little bit more, accepting of their job, compliant, if you will. We do get a hot chocolate machine that is featured in this episode.
Guys,
and,
it's just hot chocolate.
so-
it's just pie.
no,
Relax. everybody.
I know, maybe
Enjoy it.
maybe, but
Timely didn't drink it.
no, but so Timely didn't drink it. The one thing that's really interesting that New Rockstars totally did, and it has me be thinking, and it could be one of those, is Jack Mobius theories where it's nothing, but the sound and the bubbling of the noise that they've laid in for this box squish death, and the way they cut it to
Don't ruin the key
hot
lime
chocolate.
pie. Oh, the hot chocolate.
And
okay.
the key lime pie to a certain degree, with this idea that they are making you know, they're making food that people are consuming from from that mush. That sort of
No.
stuff.
no.
I know
Well,
it's
it's funny because
key lime pie is people. Oh no.
No, but so the
Yeah.
one thing that really solidified it for me is when they're recapping it and they go to the scene where Brad prunes that dude who sips the
Yep.
thing, and it drops to the ground. He looks at the ground and he says, "I'm sorry," right? At this like mush, right? That's at the ground. So people think, like he was saying, is he saying sorry because he knows what those dead people
That's
would
dark.
become? I
That's
think
too
that's
dark.
the wildest.
That's
That
too
is the
dark.
wildest
I know
theory.
it's like almost Halloween or
Pile of
whatever,
coffee?
but come on, dude.
I don't know. It could be. I forgot to mention one thing. Brad in this episode was totally he redeemed
There you
himself
go.
because
His facial,
that scene with the box and his
Yeah.
like that was like stellar.
And that
job.
scene.
He's not on screen with
Yeah.
Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson. So I mean,
He doesn't have to
you
try
know,
as
he didn't
hard.
have to. He
Yeah.
didn't have to go as great, but he did do a really great job. Right?
But even
Yeah.
when he says sorry to that mush on the ground, like it's so
it's great.
heartfelt. Like he feels broken for what he had to do,
Yeah.
right? And now he feels like,
100%.
all right, well, I'm in this now, right? And there's no way out, or else he's a hot chocolate spilt on the grates. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
Or just
If
a
that comes
bubbling
true,
mess.
that's-
Maybe it's just the imagery too. Like I think the other thing you could go for is that he was looking at it because it reminded him of what he left, that room of all those people mushed and like bubbling into,
Or he was
because
just
they're
saying
lying
sorry
on
to the guy
grates,
he
man.
pruned.
That thing is on grates. They're sitting on grates. So when they get squished, it's all just getting pushed in. Like it's
Maybe they've got like another machine. It's a prune juice machine, right? And that's where
God.
they go.
and there's where the hot
They're
chocolate
getting
is. There you go.
pruned.
Yeah.
I wanted to shout out the fanfare of this episode too, which kind of doesn't happen, and it flies through the sort of the branch timelines all the way to the Citadel, which I thought was super cool. I mentioned earlier how a lot of the stuff is being mirrored. This is an exact mirror of the season 1 finale opener, except that the
It's
Citadel
not
is
sacred.
all
It's broken. Yeah, it's shattered.
broken and everything's all
Old
spaghettified,
and
right?
decrepit.
It's post sacred timeline for sure. Yeah.
Super cool. I thought it was really neat.
Yeah, no, it's great that we're going back. It still means that place matters, which means that Alioth is going to matter and stuff like that.
Oh,
because
I completely
think
forgot about Alioth.
Yeah, I think
smoke
he's
monster.
There's Goliath.
this big smoke monster that devours.
Oh, yeah.
In the void, where like she's obviously in the Citadel, but if that still exists, then obviously there's just possibilities, right? Because I think in this episode we do see Renslayer get pruned, so she's not dead, right? She's gonna go to the void. So
Right, that's what my wife was asking me. That was just like, is she dead?
No.
When you get pruned, are you dead?
No.
And I was like, I don't think
they've
so.
done a really good job this season, really defining that, especially with with OB kind of decide like we're all gonna die. You know what I mean? Or we all die, or you die.
We're all gonna be dying. We're gonna
It's
be
just the way he says die.
We're all gonna
Like it's
die.
so like
Yeah.
it's like exactly.
Yeah.
So and the way he's describing it more specifically, like obviously the punchline is we're all gonna die, but I think in relation to how he's usually talking about what's going to kill them, it helps to set the tone that obviously pruning isn't a killing, it's an elimination from that timeline, right? From that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. You're getting thrown into the
Yeah,
trash.
they're not
bin.
becoming hot chocolate and pie. But I do think, though, going back to the Citadel being all broken and what have you, another neat thing with the production design, and also kind of a hint as to sort of the concept of this being a giant loop, is the fact that when we do see the Citadel in that opening shot, it is all broken apart. But then if you go back and look at the internal shots of the Citadel, there's sort of this... it reminds me a lot of, like, if you've seen Ahsoka, like the stormtroopers, and now there's a term for it that's like a Japanese term for how the helmets are put back together. But the idea that like all those cracks in the Citadel in that season 1 finale, maybe that's because it's happened before. and it's going to happen again and again and again, and it's being reformed every single time. So I think that is an interesting little aspect to it, that they would specifically show what's happened to that rock formation and the Citadel in that first shot. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's just getting put back together, because they had all those cracks, and it was what was like bronze or something in between
Yeah.
it all.
Right?
Yeah, and yeah, maybe it's happened over and over again.
Is it called
And then they just keep
Kitsumi?
putting it back
Or
something like that.
Kitsumi?
Kinsumi?
Yeah,
They do
I
with,
can't
like, little
remember.
teacups.
Yeah, it's the act of basically resealing it. But yeah, obviously it was blown up and put back together only to be blown up again. And it was clear based on the way things were designed in the original. Like, it's just how it's all pieced together like a puzzle. So it's cool to see those fraction points kind of mirror and what was a whole timeline and what is now a broken branched timeline. What does it look like? But really wild to see Renslayer kind of come to this realization of that she had a part to play in securing this war, and really I think, Nate, you were talking about it too. Is she a variant of He Who Remains? Right? Like, is that what they're really kind of getting at? Almost how Sylvie is a variant of Loki, which is interesting.
Is she a Kang? Yeah.
Right. So, and is that why he's intimidated by her, right? Because he seems like he's not reluctant, but like,
well, he said he doesn't do partners. Right. And I think that's a big aspect to it. And like Miss Minutes, you could argue, is a partner, but she's a partner that he can wholeheartedly just control. Right. And that's why he never gives her own temporal loom. He never gives her own autonomy, a body. He's got a partner that he can still work with, but is not a partner. Right. So
someone he can control.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
And if Renslayer is a variant, I mean, with the potential to be a full-on Kang of some sort, wiping her mind would make the most sense. Being like, oh, you're back to square one. I can't let you. You know too much. Put you back
until she needs to know more. Right, and that's kind of what we're seeing throughout these 4 episodes.
But like, are you saying basically the multiversal war that he's talking about hasn't actually happened yet?
It both has and hasn't happened. Yes.
Yes. Both has and hasn't. happened.
Yeah.
It happened a long time ago, and it's about to happen again. Right, and that's kind of the idea of the Kang's dynasty and these new movies that we're going to be moving into. I think this season and this series is very much helping to sort of set the groundwork for what's to come. It'll be interesting to see, obviously, with all the stuff going on with Jonathan Majors IRL and of course this actor strike and just everything. It's kind of just, and all the sort of the Marvel. A lot of people are feeling marveled out and all this stuff. It's going to be interesting to sort of see how we progress forward. But I think this episode and the sort of the concepts that we're talking about with Ravonna give them options, oddly enough, right? And so I don't think that was the intention when they made this, because I don't think they didn't intend that the stuff with Jonathan Majors would go down. But who knows, right? Who knows now that we've got our writers back? Maybe they're working tirelessly right now to try and figure out a way to work around it. I don't know.
I think you just recast him, man. If it really comes down to being an issue, you just recast him. The character's so important.
Yeah.
What are you going to try to do? Make Renslayer the new Kang? Like, I just don't think that's like you're pitting they'd be pitting themselves into a corner and saying, oh, well, this is this is the way out, right? Like, we'll just avoid this character.
People were saying, what was it? Who was the villain from Guardians 3? People were saying like, oh, that can be the new Kang. And I was like, don't take that. That is an incredible villain, and don't take that away from him. Like, just cast somebody new, make them Kang, and move forward.
Exactly.
Like, I agree with that. Like, don't try to take someone that already has a great character and put them in those boots. Like, I don't
the high evolutionary. Played by Chakudi Awuji, who I actually interviewed. Secret plug there for Guardians.
Yes, you did.
Guardians 3 coverage back in the day. He's fantastic. If you want to find out what his favorite animal is, check out that interview. But I also wanted to kind of, I know we're kind of going all over the place with this episode, but I think the timeline is unraveling, so it's fine. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's perfect.
we can go
Absolutely
wherever we want.
Perfect to go wherever we want.
This episode is spaghetti.
Miss Minutes, I want to go back to that moment that you talked about earlier, Mike, of her just in that final moment as she's, I guess, being reset, which I don't even know what that necessarily means, but that moment where she's just like, "You'll never be him." What do you think that it
I don't think that
means?
I don't think he's the first Victor Timely. That's my
Right.
thing. I think
Yeah.
that this is another Victor Timely. It isn't
Yeah.
the Victor Timely. It is another Victor Timely, and I think I do still go on the basis. I think Victor Timely will be the He Who Remains, the man at the end of the timeline. We've seen He Who Remains. We're sort of seeing He Who started it all, right? In a lot of ways, and that's kind of where we would be going, and we'll see the other variants of Kang throughout movies and other TV shows with different variations. But I think to make He Who Remains have these sort of, in a lot of ways, humble origins, being a sort of down on his luck, kind of underprivileged, if you will. He wasn't given the same opportunities in 1893. He's carving his own path, and he's doing so by learning, but also exploiting that to get the best of those who think that do have power over him. It's kind of more or less like a reduced version of what he would inevitably do at the end of time with carving out a timeline. Like he's planning an ultimate con. So
He is a con
if you
man.
think about
Yeah.
it, he is a con. That's what I mean. He Who Remains is a bit of a con man, and that's sort of
I don't believe that.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think he who remains is, in my eyes, is the one person who he does not exist anymore. Sylvie killed him. He had his timeline that he lived, and Victor Timely is an entirely different character who is not the same, just a variant, like only a variant.
Right, but in the sense of like there might be a destined He Who Remains again. Have we just reset that journey? Right, like
I don't think there is going to be another He Who Remains.
Really
interesting.
I don't believe that. I think that there are, infinite Kangs across like all these different timelines. But I don't think I think another Kang will sit in that seat, but it won't be He Who Remains. And I think He Who Remains and Miss Minutes are linked. Like He Who Remains created Miss Minutes, but none of the other Kangs created Miss Minutes. And Miss Minutes loves He Who Remains, but that's the only one that she loves, and he's gone.
But why is she also chasing so hard after Victor? Right? Like I feel
think
like
she was until she found out he's not him.
Right. You'll never be him.
Interesting.
Like she wanted to replace him, and then is realizing, oh, you're nothing.
Oh, okay.
Like he's nothing.
I like that too.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's nothing like He
That's
Who
true.
Remains at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And I think he's actually tainted. Like I think giving him the book turned him into a con man who is weak and bad at what he does.
So he's a bad variant.
He's not as good as He Who Remains. Like he's shit.
But if he's not He Who Remains, he could very well still be a part of He Who Remains plan. Let's get to predict. Is there anything you guys want to talk about before we get into like the next of it all? About this fourth episode.
I'm trying to rethink all the stuff that happened.
There was the one thing that bugged me was how nobody really trusted Victor Timely, but they knew they needed him, and they needed him there to open up the blast shields. They opened up the blast shields, and now they are just going to let him put the entire project on his shoulders, and nobody has a problem with him taking control and going out the door and doing it. I was like, there's no way Sylvia is going to be like, yeah, let's let him go do this. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't believe that any of them would have been like, yeah, we trust him to go and do the right thing. Like that seemed weird to me, and I don't think.
Well,
anyone
I
would
agree
have
with
been
you
like-
there. Yeah,
but
I
they
think
needed to
if
kill
you-
him, right? Like,
Well,
canonically.
did they,
That's when you see what happens, you're like,
That's
oh, that's why, because they wouldn't do that to Loki,
Right.
obviously. So
well, yeah. If they knew it was gonna, it's gonna kill them.
yeah,
Yeah. I think the interesting part of this episode is Victor Timely in the TVA. His interaction with Obi.
oh yeah, okay.
This is so good.
So
Like this
good.
is fantastic.
Who came first?
yeah.
Who came
Yeah,
first?
well, who
Obi
came first? Well, that's
or Victor?
Well, but that's where I'm thinking as well too, that there has to be another Victor Timely, right? Like I don't know if the work that OB is talking about is the Victor Timely that we're currently with. It could be another Victor Timely.
I think it was He Who Remains' version of Victor Timely.
Interesting.
So I think there was I think his name was Victor Timely, but he wasn't known as
Well,
that.
see, I thought
And I think
it
he
would be
was
really interesting if they
fit for that.
reveal something in the book and it's like the signature was already there. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it would have happened already or something like
Oh,
that. You know what I
well,
mean?
yeah.
Like maybe he signs it, but he signs it in a way that's like it's
They never
slightly
got to it,
different,
right?
right? Oh, maybe did he not actually get to? Because I think Sylvie said,
They said, "We don't have
"Yeah,
time for
you're
the
right, you're right,
signature
you're
thing.
right."
We have shit to
Yeah,
do."
interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can we save this? But I'm wondering too, like there's a little bit of that time whiny stuff where it's
Timey
like
wimey.
timey whiny stuff where it's like it almost seems like it clues it as a memory for Obi in that moment.
Hmm.
Yes, well, everything I learned was from Victor Timely. Like
Yeah,
because
yeah,
now
yeah.
he's interacting with Victor Timely, so now he's able to like suddenly just say, I don't know, like there was something really interesting about their interaction, the handshake. I feel like an importance to Obi that we have yet to unravel,
Hmm.
and maybe he is really the one who remains. Based on the TVA, like he is
Interesting.
the real
Well,
he who
I
remains.
also
Mm.
could maybe put that on Casey. I think Casey, his love for
Oh yeah,
Obi
Obi.
was fantastic, and then so seeing him in the
Can I get you to
background,
sign my book?
right? But
Yeah.
seeing him in the
Yeah.
background of Obi meeting Victor Timely, like he was just so happy, and it was such a funny little moment. And I think everything that they're doing with Casey, I think his character is a welcome sort of upgrade from the previous season for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
There was one edit I wanted to call out in this
Mhm.
episode as well that I really loved. And this kind of goes to like when what we were talking about where the pacing seemed weird and like there was everything was in a hurry, but then they were never actually in a
Mhm.
hurry. And there is a point, and I think it's OB who says, "We have no time," or maybe it was Mobius. I forget who it was. They're in the room with the blast doors, and they're like, "We're running out of time." And then it cuts to Loki, and he looks at a watch. And he's like, "There's still time." And it's like that quick of an edit, and I was like, "Oh, they know that they're just screwing with us this whole time. Like
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
100% like doing this on purpose now." Where now I kind of forgive the
Yeah.
beginning after seeing that
Yeah.
line, going, "Okay, like they know they're
Well, because
doing
there's
this
also
to
a
us."
line when it's revealed that it was Loki that prunes Loki. I think that's when he says, "I promise you, this will all make sense." Right,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
again the writers
yeah.
just sort of.
Is that straight
Yeah,
to
I'm pretty
us?
sure, right? That's
It,
the
like,
idea, right?
yeah.
But let's get to our prediction segment, which we're going to be bringing back from season 1. With our predictions, we always like to give cheesy names for our prediction segments, and this one's not great. But it's what
Nate likes to.
it's what we
Nate
had.
likes to give.
I
cheesy
like to give
names.
cheesy names.
Yes.
So, Mike, I want to know what's your low key perspective on what's going to happen next in episode 5.
I thought you were gonna go with like spaghetti string theory.
That works too. Totally. Let's hear it.
Honestly, like I honestly am not sure what to think because of the way that this ended. The fact that like they didn't save it and the loom blows up and it goes to black. You know what I mean? Like it was like anything could
Mhm.
happen. So what's gonna happen is like so up in the air that like my brain goes like like that's it. Like it's just
yeah.
like I got nothing.
Yeah.
I honestly am like I don't know. I've read a few rumors and things about how like Deadpool may show up in this
Oh, wow.
series and there's rumors that like mutants may show up and it's
Mephisto
going to open
shows
up a
up.
whole
That's
Yeah, I
finally.
haven't heard that one yet, but yeah, I really hope you get that.
Please.
But the idea that this is going to open up apparently in one of the rumors is it opens up the mess that Deadpool 3 closes.
Interesting.
So that might
Or
be
might
the
be
case.
part
Like
of
I
it,
could
right?
see that
Yeah.
being. And now there's a lot of like, but with Marvel going up in the air and kind of like reassessing everything, anything
Yeah.
could happen. I don't
Mm.
know. I don't even know. Like I couldn't even tell you what's going to happen in episode 5
Yeah.
and 6, right? So like, I have no idea. I'm lost for theories, to be honest.
Well, that's a fun place to be. It's also a scary place
Kinda,
to be
yeah,
though
it's exciting.
for the writers of like people. The fans are going to fandom, right? Fans are going to fandom and say, "Well, we're going to see Deadpool," and it's like, okay, everyone, calm down,
Yeah.
please, because I promise you that's not going to happen. Like you know what I mean?
I-
It could, but it's not. Like it's. I think the whole idea of it is like, it's a really fun place to put your fans, but it's also a terrifying place from a writing perspective as well, because you do get those people that just run on that stuff, and then no matter what you come up with, it's disappointing, right?
There's a couple things I think that you're going to see before the end of this, or at least before the end of end of a Loki
Sure.
series. Whether if I don't know if this is a last season or if they've announced
hope
another
there's a
season.
season
They
or
would be
three.
crazy
anything, but
not to.
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like they'll do another one for sure. I definitely believe the pie has there's something going on with the pie and the hot
Oh, no.
chocolate. Like I do believe that it is creepy enough and weird enough. I do believe that Miss Minutes is going to be like the biggest baddie in this. I think that that's
She's
going to
definitely a
come down to
baddie.
that. And I think Brad is going to have redeeming qualities before the end of
Yeah.
it. I think he's going to feel bad for what he had did and what he stepped away from and make his survival
I like that.
meaningful.
Yes.
I
He's a
think.
sacrifice.
And
I agree
those are
with-
things that I believe.
I
I
agree
don't
with
know
all of
how
them.
those things are going to happen, but I believe that those are going to happen.
Yeah, I think it
Justin,
makes a
what's
lot
your
of sense.
low-key perspective on what's going to happen
Right.
next?
Oh, right. My low key perspective. Sorry. My low key perspective is I agree with Mike on a lot of it. Something's going on with the pie and the hot chocolate. Miss Minutes, making Miss Minutes the big baddie of this season is a great idea. She has a lot of information that I think they don't destroy her, but they turn her and they make her helpful and they make her a part of what they're trying to do to fix what's going on. I think without a doubt, though, the ramifications of this Loom and Doom scenario is going to have huge impact on upcoming movies like Deadpool, especially because of how crazy and wild apparently that's going to be, and really where they're going to hope, based on rumors, really at the end of the day, where everyone thinks it's going to go. The events of this would definitely help fuel that and make it justifiable, and then they can just go buck wild, right? So it doesn't. We don't need a reference to Deadpool other than when we get in that movie. That's the reference. It's a crazy broken timeline.
True.
But I'm wondering what is next for these characters in these next two episodes. Time slipping is definitely going to come back. I think they're all going to be discombobbled and kind of thrown all over the place. But at the end of the day, did the thing do the thing that it was going to do? Did it blow up and now everything is shattered? Or is it just, is it just chaos, or is it stable? I don't know. We'll see. Is it that? But I think it's great that not many people might have an idea of what's next. It's so refreshing that in episode 4, much like Moon Knight episode 4, kind of served as a hard reset for anyone who was going through these episodes having theories and theories and theories. And I'm sure a lot of people, when they saw Victor Timely turn to spaghetti mush, were just like, "Oh wow,
Yeah.
I said out loud, "What the fuck?" Like that definitely was like a what the
yeah,
fuck
exactly,
moment. Like
yeah, yeah, and even low key, like the sort of the to a lesser degree, as I was mentioning before, everyone thinking that Kate Dickie was going to be a variant of Sylvie, right? Another Loki variant, right? It's fandom getting excited and driving their excitement. But I love that writers can still have these moments where they can subvert everyone's expectations and go, "Ha! You thought Mephisto was in that? Nah. That ain't gonna happen."
Yeah.
So
it's not very often a TV show gives you that like red wedding moment.
exactly,
You know what I mean? Where you're
surprise. Exactly.
Oh.
And that's kind of what this episode really felt like. And it does feel like a reset where we know we're going to see certain things, but we don't know what the ramifications of those things are. But everyone, the producers, the writers, Eric Martin, Kevin R. Wright, like they've been, the next two episodes they say are some of the best, and they're excited for.
I'm excited.
For it.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Well, my low-key perspective, in case, Justin, I know you were going to ask.
I figured you'd ask yourself. So
I'm glad you.
Any chance to theorize you were not going to pass up.
So I'm glad you mentioned Kevin R. Wright. He teased the 5th episode, according to Screen Rant, and said, "Well, this is a quote. Well, reality is gone. Loki's going to have to bring reality back somehow. So I think time will tell how he figures out how to do that." So I think pretty clearly there, the use of time will tell. I mentioned earlier the idea that love carries through through time. We talk about the idea of like variants can fall in love through time. Ravonna still feels drawn to He Who Remains. Through even in that spark with Victor Timely, like there's moments where she sort of has that spark. And then I think it's also why Mobius still carries such a passion for jet skis from the 80s is what I'm going with. I think there's a reason why beyond why Casey is in this season so much. So if you remember correctly, Casey is, and I don't know if they'll do this. This might be crazy, but what if they did? He has Infinity Stones in the drawer, in his desk drawer, okay? And magic is now unlocked at the TVA. They literally put in a specific line to say that magic is now unlocked. They turn off the magic blockers. We get that moment of Loki and Sylvie going, yes, turn it off. So magic exists now at the TVA. So I think two things will happen. I think you're right, Justin. I think everyone's going to start time slipping into the future, into the past, into different timelines, into branch timelines. We're going to get to see Mobius forced to confront his past and his family in Broxton, Oklahoma. We'll see Loki use the time stone to fight against his time slipping and to coordinate with all the other individuals in that room to pull off fixing everything. In fact, in the first episode of this season, and you already sort of mentioned it, Justin, when Mobius and Loki are having that conversation in front of the Kang War multiverse mural thing, there's a blurry character walking in the background. And as soon as Loki says He Who Remains wiped everyone's memory, that blurry figure stops, looks over at them, and then keeps walking. Now, this could just be a background character. There was another background character earlier in that scene, whatever. But I think this is maybe Casey, who's on a mission with Loki, walking by in that exact moment. I think they're going to stop everything, and they're going to try to stop the loop, if you will, because I think this is one giant loop that we're going off of. I realize I sound right now like the Always Sunny meme of Charlie with the with the board, 100%.
This is like, where's all the mail going?
But hold on. So I think Casey's on a mission with Loki. I think they're going to stop everything. They're going to try to stop the loop. They discover that it is a loop. I think in the end of all things, I think you're right. I think Obi's really important. I think Obi will go away, sadly. I think Obi will sacrifice himself in some way, which is unfortunate, but I think Casey takes his place. I think Hunter B-15 will run the TVA the correct way, and I think there will still be there won't be a He Who Remains, there will be a She Who Remains, and Ravonna will be cursed to live out the rest of her days at the Citadel, which they no longer will use for pruning people. That is everything I think, or they'll just fail, and then a bunch of stuff is going to be able to be reset in the MCU, and the writers can take all the fan criticism and just delete characters if they want to.
Yeah, but I like. Do you think what's driving a lot of the? Yeah, but do you think what's driving a lot of the sort of, I guess, fatigue with Marvel is from a writing standpoint, or do you think it's just from an abundancy standpoint?
I think it's a bit of both. I think they've written themselves into certain holes because of the fact that they aren't all the same writing teams. They're not all the same creatives that are making this stuff, and you don't really have like. I don't know. Maybe they do, but as far as I'm aware, there's not really the same thing that they have with Star Wars, right? Where they have that sort of like group, that writing group, that story group that makes sure, hey, Luke is here at this point, Leia's here at this point. They can't be here or whatever. I don't think Marvel, to my understanding, I don't think Marvel really has that, and so I'm wondering if the concept of this massive break in all the timelines is an opportunity for them to set up the Kang movies and the new Avengers movies and give the ability to soft reset aspects of the MCU that they know aren't working, which I don't think is personally, I don't want a lot of that to happen because I like the majority of the stuff that a lot of people don't like in the MCU. Yeah. But there's certain aspects that maybe they might want to just sort of tweak a little or change. And if they can do that in a way that gets fans behind it, I'm not saying bring Robert Downey Jr. back, but if they can do it in a way that gets fans behind it, I think they've got an opportunity to utilize some of this to maybe make some corrections. I don't know. That's just me.
I just wonder though, what sort of corrections are they trying to make? Is I don't understand what's
Well, you
not
didn't
working.
like
I guess
Secret Invasion, so maybe they just erased that.
but I like
Um,
as it does it again. I don't know if erasing a show, right?
Right.
But
No,
like
I know.
other than a show, is it just the fact that they've written Jonathan Majors as this particular character that's of huge importance for the next few phases, and now he's facing some legal struggles?
hmm
You know, again, I think just recast him. That you don't have to overthink
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Just recast him. It doesn't matter. The world's gonna know what's gonna happen if it goes south. He's convicted. He
yeah.
goes to jail. Whatever. If it goes worse and worse and whatever, or if they just want to distance because he's not going to be drawing attention, even with it going on, and even if he isn't innocent. Like we've seen it with Justin Rollins. It's not like Rick and Morty. We're like, okay, yeah, he can come back. It's not. Marvel might want to put some professional distance between them and Jonathan
Maybe.
Majors, so they recast. That's all they really need to do.
I think that there's a lot more going wrong in terms of like, I mean, I think that there are huge fans. Like, I think that the three of us enjoy enough of Marvel, but I am like, I know people, and like even my wife included, we've rewatched the like the MCU at least
hmm
once, if not more. But these more recent movies, like they're losing her.
Right.
Like, and so I think that there are a lot more people that these things are losing those people and not gaining new fans, and I think that that is a worry.
That is,
I
it's
personally think that it's QA, like the
quality.
quality
Yeah,
assurance
fuck
of
yeah.
some of the scripts are like
That's it.
they're
Yeah.
not great. The rewatches, I've done rewatches on all the most recent movies, and like when I think back to like Quantumania, like that first act is a slog for them to get into the
It's a bit rough.
quantum
Well, see,
realm
that's
is the worst writing I think I've ever seen them
yeah.
do.
It's and I think
It's
we can
bad.
all respectively say that like not everything is perfect within the MCU, and they're definitely trying to build. And I honestly think it's quality, it's quantity over quality. They're trying to push out as
Yeah.
much as they can, and the quality is so inconsistent. Like you got some gems
Yeah.
like WandaVision and Loki, right? And even
Yep.
Spider-Man No Way Home, and but then you have a miss like
Mhm.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of
Mhm.
Madness, like like
I'm so angry at that one.
right. So exactly,
Yeah.
right. Like my thing
Yeah.
is that, and then you have more shows in between to kind of soften and reboot, and it's just you're losing your audience because you're going too hard. Whereas we were at a point where it might have been 1 or 2 movies a year. You're getting 4
Yeah.
to 5, maybe 6 pieces of content. Now this year it's 4.
Yeah.
So I'm I think focusing on
I'm excited they're scaling it
and
back.
for sure, and
Like
that's smart,
good.
and they're doing shuffles. They're understanding that, to as Nate said, their writing isn't as cohesive as it should be
Mhm.
tonally, right? And I think
Mhm.
by creating more of a synergy between things, like okay, things that are working good for like Loki, and I didn't mind Moon Knight. I think Moon Knight was good, right? And then
I loved it.
but like you know I want to see some of that like come together in a cohesive manner, because when you've introduced Shang-Chi as the next Avenger, but we haven't seen him in over what 2 years, like what's going on?
It's got to
Like
be more than
you've
that,
done, yeah,
isn't
well
it?
probably I think it was 2021 when it came out, but like you've introduced that character, you've claimed that he's the next Avenger. What's been going on there, right? You've introduced so
Where's
much
Harry
internals as
Styles?
well.
You know?
Yeah, where's
That's what
Harry
I wanna
Styles?
know.
Exactly.
What happened there?
What's
Yeah,
happening
yeah.
with all
Where's
of this
Borat
stuff?
as Mephisto? I think
Yeah.
to kind of get to the other aspect of it though, and I know that sounds a bit dark of the idea of like removing some of these characters and stories, but the other way to look at it as well is it also just opens up a ton of opportunities for
It
them to
does.
sort of say,
Mhm.
well, the snap was a major event. This moment, as much as it's kind of hidden in the streaming service show of Loki. I mean, Loki's huge, but like it's not Avengers Endgame, right? And so the idea of like this
Mhm.
moment potentially being a huge casting off point for them to then work into the multiversal storyline that they have going forward within this saga, I think is really, really exciting and really interesting. And I again, if none of what I described in my low-key perspective happens, I will be just as happy, most likely, because I
Mm.
think I'm stoked to see what happens next. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
But that is it. Do we have anything else that we wanted to mention before we wrap up and the loom explodes, and we all turn to spaghetti? That is it for.
As long as the rest of the episodes don't go to
Yes,
spaghetti,
there we go.
I'm on board.
Let's hope they can land
yeah,
it. Before we wrap things up, Mike, can you let our lovely listeners know how they can keep up with you?
Yeah, I do a podcast called Dumpster Talk. You can follow it on all or listen at all the podcast places that you listen and enjoy. Follow us on Instagram at Dumpster Talk, or email us at info@dumpstertalk.com.
Very cool. Yeah, I gotta shout out Dumpster Talk. I've been on Dumpster Talk. I've had the pleasure of guesting on an episode that I brought some Marvel fun into, and I think it's such a blast. I think especially as we get into the nice cozy fall season, I think it's a great podcast to listen to. The best way that I could describe Dumpster Talk is if you've ever had that feeling where the weekend is over, you're driving back to work and you're on your commute, and you've got it's that dreary Monday, and all you can think about was how great it was to hang out with your buddies at the cottage over the weekend. That's the feeling I get when I listen to Mike and his co-host Justin, not our Justin, but his Justin, Baloney Jones, talking about some of the craziest things. It's a really warm, lovely, sometimes chaotic spaghetti
of conversation. It's a verbal rodeo every day.
So much fun. We'll have links for that in our description. You can follow Mike and check out
Thanks
that
for
podcast.
having me.
Of course, dude. Absolutely. It's fun to have you on these watch clubs.
I love chatting this stuff.
But that is it for this week's Watch Club recap for Loki Season 2, Episodes 1 to 4. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts or your predictions, your low-key perspectives on the shows we cover in Watch Club, well, let me just send Justin out towards the temporal loom so he can let you know how you can reach us across time.
Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can reach out to us on Twitter, or the app formerly known as Twitter, at GeekcentricYT, or on Instagram and Threads at wearegeekcentric.
Do you think there's a branch timeline where they still have Twitter and it's like good? Like it's really good?
Probably.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Maybe we got to move.
It's like taking over the world.
Got to go there. Let's go there.
Was it ever good? I've never been a fan.
Exactly.
Never? No.
Nah, I've made them. I go on there now and then. I hated it.
Well, if you are also not a fan of Twitter, but you're a fan of Discord, you can also join us in our Discord. We're going to open up, now that we've kind of got this episode out, we're going to open up our Loki Discord channel. We can talk about it. We can have some conversations directly with you. You can let us know your Loki perspectives in there as well. And we'll have a link for that Discord in our description. Keep in mind, we have a ton of other episodes covering the recent releases that are out now, including our spoiler-free reviews for David Fincher's The Killer. We've got our review of Goosebumps episodes 1 to 5, our spoiler-free review of Loki Season 2 episodes 1 and 2, our review of The Creator, Expendables 4, and I Am Groot Season 2. We also have a ton of interviews out now, like our most recent interview, as the one I've already mentioned. Justin got the chance to interview the episode 2 director of Loki Season 2, Dan DeLeo, where he discussed his journey as a visual effects supervisor and then becoming a director, getting to sit in the director's chair. Justin, you also interviewed 2 other folks, and those interviews are coming soon, I believe?
They're going to be out as of right now.
Oh, perfect. Wow, you must have just gone through the timelines to make that happen. That's amazing.
Yes, I moved quickly.
Do you want to let the people know who those interviews are with?
Yeah, well, I had a chance to talk with the costume designer, Christine Wada, and I also had the chance to talk with production designer and director of episode 3, Kasran Farhani, and we got into exactly sort of the same sort of conversation with Dan, just that transition and bringing that approach of production design to directing. And it's very enlightening to see that the whole behind the scenes of Loki is treated with such a collaborative energy, which is really a testament to these guys stepping into the director's chair and taking up the opportunity. So yeah, great interviews.
Yeah, I think production design in general is kind of the highest thing that we were all pretty stoked about with the show in general.
That with the camera work has been flawless. Like there's these beautiful long takes because they're actually built sets, and the camera lingers and moves through sets. It's great. It really does give a whole new level of production value to the MCU TV experience, which again is something to learn from and to emulate with other stories.
We can only
Build sets.
hope. We can only hope
Yeah.
if the Loom explodes. But be sure to check out that interview and all of our other interviews, either here on your podcast service of choice or over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. We're going to continue this watch club for episode 5 later this week. And then again for the finale, we're going to have some special guests joining us from other branch timelines. So be sure to check those out. And we would love so much on our sacred timeline to become some Rotten Tomatoes. We would love to get Rotten Tomatoes certified. So a beautiful, fresh 5-star review would go a really long way in the Apple Podcast app, if you don't mind. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what you think of the podcast and these watch clubs. Mike, Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this watch club recap. And as we say, for all time, always.